Oh, yeah. Finished filing my taxes. I'm in a good mood. I'm feeling great.
Oh, yeah.
The accountant scared the shit out of me with some bad math, and we had to go over it and find it. But we found it, and so now I'm not freaking out. I'm comfortable with the... You know what? I'm not. I hate paying taxes. Anyway, almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, go to the website, almostagreement.com. Holaroo 25 is upon us. We officially have our permission to get a beer permit, and I got to go perform my stage show for City Council again this week, and they voted 9-0 in favor of my ordinance. So come down to Holaroo and have a beer. Have the first beer on in a public place with me outside of the certain district BS that it used to be. So we're doing that May 5th, 17. Go to holaroo.co and sign up to volunteer, race a derby car with us, come vend some wares if you're a vendor of sorts, or just come hang out and have a good time. Almost in agreement at gmail.com is how to get a hold of us. All your favorite podcast providers, like, friend, share, follow, text. Do whatever you can do to spread the word. We've got a city election coming up, and some pieces are starting to go into place, so we'll get going on that kind of stuff too. Anyway, we're going to do a show. Here we go. It has been done. I'm so excited that that's behind us. Like, there's,
yay!
I had a great week of major stressful headache hurdle things get passed. So I got that thing out of the way. Got the taxes. The 24 taxes aren't completed yet, but we've got the numbers figured out and correctly. So anyway, how are you, friend? What's up? What's new?
Oh, not much.
Okay. And so my accountant sent me some like prelim documentation. And said that I showed that I owed about twice as much as I thought I was going to owe, and sent me some different stuff and business taxes and personal taxes and all the stuff I'm looking at is like, this doesn't make any sense. And so she sends me the full P&L and some other documentation. I'm going through it. Turns out we actually get to correct some taxes from last year because our rent for one of the locations, because the first check that we wrote to that landlord was for our security deposit. When they put that one in and marked it as security deposit, every time that addressee on a check came up, the software automatically threw it into a deposit. And so that's two negatives, because I don't get to write it off. That's an asset that's paying into an asset, because a deposit infers a return at some point. And so that's an asset that we were getting taxed on, as well. It was not taken away from expenses that the business was paying. And so then we were paying income tax on that, and a whole 18 months of commercial rent ain't cheap.
All right.
And so it actually went from showing the business on top of us individually, but the business itself making money, which it didn't. It's not. It's close to zero. Anything that it does make splits. It's a pass-through entity, as they call it. And so we tried to design it so that it doesn't look like it's making any money anyway. Any money that it does make, we pay to ourselves. When we pay that to ourselves, that goes as an expense, and then we pay income tax on it instead of it passing through. Math comes out the same in the long term on it, but just as a way to, incorporate our pay into the system that we're putting in place, we do it as pay instead of as whatever's left over we just take. And so it was showing like 3 times as much as I thought it was gonna. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem. And so I had about an hour phone call with the accountant today. We found that and a couple other issues and got them straightened out, and much more in the realm of what I was prepared for. I've set aside money to pay this tax. Right. Not that much money,
right?
But as much as we're actually paying now. So, and then so we got our ordinance changed. It's official. I have done the impossible. I have changed an ordinance. I guess, I don't know, everybody.
Think beer board is going to be a gimme?
Yeah, Lauren Ryder is the chair of the beer board. The rest of City Council who voted 9-0 in favor of this ordinance change is the beer board.
Right.
As long as I do the paperwork correctly, which I'm already done with -1, and that's the easiest item that I have left, we'll get our permit. There's no way we can't get her. They do have the right to refuse it, technically. I will lose my shit if they do.
On third consideration.
Look, it wasn't a lie. I was confident. I felt good about the work that Lauren was doing and the position that we were in, that we were going to get this passed. But we're talking to sponsors and stuff and being like, this is how we know we're going to do better than we did last year. These are the numbers we performed last year. We think we're going to blow that out this year, and this is why. This is the number one reason why we think we're going to kill last year.
Yeah.
As far as attendance and stuff like that. some of these sponsors understand the law or the ordinances. Most of them don't. But like, I was selling the sponsorship on we're going to have alcohol in the street because we were going to have alcohol in the street, and so it would have been a problem. I don't think anybody would like sue me over it or anything, but like I never said we. How did I was careful wording it. It's like we plan on having, which is true. It's not a lie.
Right.
It's just choice words instead of saying, well, we want to do this, but we can't technically right now.
Well, I would guess with a lot of sponsors, they run into kind of people in the early or mid-stage progress of trying to plan something.
That's
to where
a
lot of the wording is. It's like our plan is to do this, and we want to do this.
Right. And that's the hard part about doing it, especially this version of this event this year. The hardest part of that was there was a huge, like, one, we already have a couple under our belt. We have a track record. We know what we're doing. We know how to do what we're doing. That makes it a little bit easier to talk to sponsors and stuff like that about stuff.
Right.
But we have this big leap in function that is dependent on this law change. And so we got the law change, and that's great. I'm excited about it. A big special shout out to Lauren Ryder for putting in the work, and Cheryl Ball from the city as well for doing the actual like writing of the ordinance work stuff to get this out there and all the behind the scenes stuff that they have to do. I think Lauren's going to just quit tomorrow. She's been vocal about there's been people that talked to her about running for other positions in the city after her term because she's term limited anyway. She has no desire to stay in politics.
Yeah.
She is a little worn out with the process. Although, we're going to have an open seat for mayor. India may run for county. But either way, it's time to start talking about 5 years from now, 4.5 years from now when we elect a new city mayor. Who's that going to be? Maybe that one's me. I can't. I'm not. I might annex my property. I don't know. I'm not going to annex my property to run for mayor. I'm going to annex my property for other reasons. But if I'm a city resident, I can run for county mayor. Or city mayor.
You cannot?
Both. I can't. I can run for either one. If I'm not a city resident, I can't run for city mayor.
Yeah.
Which I learned that apparently Mr. Mayor Jacobs lived up in Morristown. Had a big old mansion up in Morristown. And sold that mansion and moved into Knox County shortly before putting in his paperwork to run for mayor.
I thought I heard years ago they had some kind of place. I don't know, it was Morristown, but it was like kind of on its way up there.
Yeah. It might be right at the edge of county. It might have been right inside Knox County.
Yeah.
I know the only time I've seen him out in public that wasn't an event, I ran into him at the Food City in Halls.
Right.
Because I know he lives up that way. But, yeah, he put a warning out. Did you hear about that? Did you hear that story? Like, he's really mad at commission right now.
No.
Like, this is some in the weeds, like, if you care about local government, you need to care about this. If you don't care about local government, then you don't care about this. It's all land use stuff. So, process. That's what the 90% is trying to figure out process, and then the process of making adjustments when you decide to make a move. And so we had this Knox Planning Alliance and this different... We've had all this different stuff we've talked about land use and stuff like that over the last couple of years. And so there's like the master plan, which I'm using the wrong term. I can't remember what the term is. But like the county master plan, that's their transportation and land use plan, which, some of that has to be in place so they can get grant funding and all this different kind of crap. So like what road work, so transportation being like what road repairs, what road widenings, what new roads they're going to build, they want to build in the county over the next 15 years or whatever. And then the second part of this master plan was what the city of Knoxville did it a couple years ago. It was Recode Knox. And that's when they changed all the coding stuff and made this ADU thing where you can build an apartment in the backyard of if the property's big enough in like Mechanicsville, for example, like stuff like that, trying to get some of this middle housing where you get duplexes and triplexes and properties that are currently one house or empty lots but could hold, would normally hold a single family home, now has zoning for a duplex or a triplex depending on different variables and stuff like that. So anyway, Knoxville County hasn't done a coding update for zoning in like 20 or 30 years. Part of this master plan thing is the very generic lines that the zoning code update that they're supposed to start on very soon is going to fit within. So the master plan is kind of the overarching version of it, And this coding one that they're going to start working on now is the very specific coding portion of it to get coding in line with the master plan.
Okay.
Well, coding is not in line with the master plan currently. And so there's been a number of things that have gone through Planning Commission and come before County Commission where it's basically zoning ordinance reviews and adjustments to what current ordinances and stuff like that. Where there's a couple of commissioners who are openly, Andy Fox, I believe his name is, from South Knoxville, who ran on and is openly against density at all costs. So some stuff came out of planning, and this developer was asking for like 6 units per acre, and commission ended up allowing 2, to which the developer said, I'm not doing anything with that piece of land then. It's not worth it.
Yeah. That
kind of stuff. And so basically Mayor Jacobs is getting pissed off about it because, hey guys, we just did this whole like master plan thing about getting more density available where we can. These are places where you guys know we're going to be putting more density in. And although the code officially doesn't state that yet, all this is variance in code anyway. You can permit a variance of code anytime you want. So permit variances in code that are going to be within the master plan. It's basically what he's trying to pitch at him.
Yeah, makes sense, I guess.
Right. And then his threat, which is the funny part, is, well, if you guys are going to bother with the master plan, looking at the master plan when you're doing variances of code anyway, then let's just not bother with updating the code. Which, I mean, the threat really is it just makes it makes these decisions more political than just practical. Where for a commissioner to be like, this is what the zone calls for. We just put this zoning in place. We're not allowing this variance. It's easy to do when all these things are lined up, and especially in recent history. Or inversely, like an Andy Fox who doesn't like density anywhere in Knox County. Well, it's going to be harder for him. Like, he can vote against it all he wants to any day of the week. It doesn't really matter. But certain things won't have to appear before County Commission because it's not a variance. It's the new code. And so essentially the threat is you're going to make your jobs harder longer if we don't get this new coding lined up. And so do the coding as we know it's going to be now, and so we can get this new coding on the books, and it'll make your job easier later. That's kind of the threat. Because if not, if we don't do the update, it's just going to make everything more harder, more complicated, more variances coming before Planning Commission and County Commission and stuff like that.
How much do you have left on his term?
Jacobs?
Yeah. At least a couple more years.
Next year. Next August. So 18 months, 16 months is when Election Day is. I think swear-in is August, September, I think, of 26. To which I don't know what he's doing. Like, I mean, it was very like, here's the plan. The last year, I mean, he should be starting his governor run right now.
Yeah.
He should be starting to poke around at his governor stuff. And then all next year, anything he was planning on doing, well, anything we expected him to do as county mayor was going to get pushed aside while he ran for governor. So he's going to be a more active last year governor, I think, or mayor, I think, since he's not running for governor.
Possibly. Could be other aspirations.
Which, again, like you've said a couple times, I haven't heard officially that Marcia is running.
All right.
But Mayor Jacobs seems pretty officially not running, and that was why he backed out. So I don't know. That's going to be interesting. I think the mayor's race is going to be interesting as we see it right now. We talked about it a little bit last week because Betsy announced in the middle of the day, Friday last week.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, well, I think maybe some context on it. Martin Daniels, that beautiful letter I got from Martin Daniel there. Martin Daniel is the new chair of the Knox County Republican Party. And he and all the officers in the new all the officers that got elected to the party in the meeting last week are all the more uber conservative sect of Republicans here locally. And so this is the Marsha Blackburn, the Elaine Davises. They're all Eric Whiter people. Let's just say what it is. This is Eric Whiter runs the Knox County Republican Party officially now. There's no other way to say it. Not officially, unofficially, functionally, maybe is the correct word if we're trying to be careful with the legals here.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Which raises this question because Eric and Herrera were the ones that pumped in all that city stuff a couple of years ago.
Right.
When the city when the Republicans ran candidates for city, and so there's a question if they're going to try that again, which I think they will. They have to. I mean, especially if it's Eric, because Eric is the one that got Elaine to do the state law that forced the city of Knoxville to make them districted races instead of citywide races.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that, although it's the correct way to elect people, I think, but the whole point of that, really, from Eric's perspective, is District 3. He thinks his candidate could have won that if it was just District 3 voters.
Right.
But since it was citywide, the loony leftist one, or whatever, I can't remember whatever his phrasing was. And so, which I think that's correct. I think District 3 is the more Republican-leaning district of the city, and it would make sense if enough people voted that a Republican-style candidate would be the city councilor from District 3. It would be more representative of the city population as a whole. It seems appropriate to me. But I think the other thing that the Republicans did that they screwed up back in 23 was they ran a slate of candidates that we are a conglomeration, and so there were a couple of loonies, like real loonies they had in that run, that the legitimate candidates that were actually decent candidates kind of got some dirt because the pea drinker lady from South Knoxville was on their team. You remember?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that was a tactical error. Yes, run your candidates, but don't run them as a group. Run them as the individuals that they are in their districts. But you ran them as a group, and they were all supporting each other kind of stuff. And so that psycho...
Yeah, sometimes that can help, but...
Right. Not in this case, though.
When it goes well, it can help.
Right. Right. When one of them gets caught... Well, when not gets caught, when one of them's, whatever. I don't care if you drink pee. That's fine with me. It's just, you got to know that's going to look bad for the voters. So this is, I mean, like on the political grand scheme of things in Knox County, it's very interesting to me because I think the state of Tennessee has done a very good job. I think Knox County has done a very good job with the way these districts are drawn. I hesitate to use the word gerrymandering, but it is fucking gerrymandering. We all know it is. I don't think county commission. I think countywide Republicans win. I think it's pretty solid. I think all of our county commission seats that are at-large seats are Republicans. Our mayors are Republican. Our trustees are Republican. Our law directors are Republican. Like all of the countywide seats are Republican. We have 2 Democrats on commission, I think. Now I say it and I can't remember. But it's a 9-seat body. Is it right? 9-seat body?
Fuck. Ask the wrong person.
God damn it. Yeah, I think it's 7 with 2 at-larges, I think. City's 5 with 3 at-larges. Or 6.
Sounds about
6
right.
and 3, 7 and 2. So anyway, county commission's I think county commission is close to representative. I think it's one Democrat short of being representative of the actual politics in Knox County.
Not far off then.
Especially if you take out the at-large seats and you have just the 6. It's 6 and 3. Fuck, what is it? 7 and 2. Anyway, I think we have 2 right now. I think it should be 3. So 3 of 7. It's like 35, 40%. I think that's accurate. Especially if you have an entire city government that's all left-leaning. So if half of your population continually votes for Democrats, and then the other half continually votes for Republicans, it should be about a 50-50. What city residents are 2/3, between 2/3 and a half of the population in Knox County?
Is it 2/3 of?
Yeah. City of Knoxville is, I think the city of Knoxville is right over 200,000 now, and Knox County is just short of 500,000. So it's like 210,000 to 480,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like right in there between the quarter and a third, I guess.
Do you think the state level has done well, and you think it's close to representative? I thought that's how you started out. That you thought the state. I don't know, because we got 6
6 House seats that represent Knox County, 7 House seats, 7 House seats that represent Knox County. 2 of them are Democrats. It's right in there. I thought 18 was flippable, which it wasn't at all apparently. But I thought 18, which is mine, was flippable. And so I think we have a couple of districts in the county that have a chance of going the other way. And so the 6, 7 House seats in county, again, the Senate seats, we have 2.5. The half doesn't count because that's Anderson County's McNally with that little wedge.
Yeah.
But it's still gerrymandered as fuck. Like if you drew a population, because again, like I think a state senator is 240,000 people. And we have Massey, Briggs, who are 99% of the county.
Yeah.
And so that's 450,000 right there. And then you have just enough for McNally to come down and take a few of the Democrat districts and tie them up with Anderson County so that no Democrat's ever going to win a state Senate seat. So, yeah. Anyway. I don't know. I don't feel like the population of Knoxville, if they bothered to fucking vote, would vote the way they're voting. I don't think Knox County is as red as it is elected to be. Actually, I take that back. I know Knox County is not as red as it is elected to look like. It's just, the Dems don't put up very good candidates in some of these districts because it's hard to get somebody to run when whoever runs for that seat loses if you have a D next to your name.
Yeah.
Like that's why India is not going to run for county mayor. It's not that she doesn't think she could do the job. It's that she knows she's not going to win. Not because of her skill set, just because of the way the county votes. Why would you run? Debbie Helsley ran, and she's now a city councilor. So the city likes her. But she ran against Mayor Jacobs last time, and she had a better turnout than Democrats previously.
I don't think it was a complete trouncing.
I mean, by historical comparison, it was a great turnout for Democrats in the county mayor race.
Was okay.
But by in different standards, it was still an ass kicking.
Yeah,
like it was like a 58-40 or something like that.
Yeah,
so it wasn't
close by any means.
Right, it wasn't close, but it was closer than previous Democrats running for county mayor.
Yeah, have been,
and so I don't know. I'm over it. Like this is just I'm over it. Like I'm freaking out. Like right now, at least as far as we know, I have a feeling that Eric's going to get behind. I think Eric's going to take Betsy on. Betsy seems to be at least positioning herself as an Eric Weider style candidate. Eric's not a dumbass. Like he's good at what he does. I disagree with him on a lot of stuff politically and morally and all that kind of crap, but he's good at what he does. He has a good shot. Betsy has a good shot of winning a Republican primary. I think if it was a 2 or 3 or 4-way race countywide, Betsy would lose all day, every day. I think if it's just what it is now, if it's Larson versus Betsy in a countywide, not a primary, just that's the general, I think Larson wins that race. But I don't think Larson will win that primary. Because my favorite little factoid I learned, Betsy's appointed treasurer is a Duncan. It is Jimmy Duncan's kid.
Okay.
It's Becky Massey's nephew. Guess how much donor ties that guy's got. He knows some people.
A few.
Now that being said,
I mean, not necessarily.
I mean
they were a political family, but I'm sure there's at least 2/3 of the family that have no political.
I mean, well, the question to me is in the new age of politics because Jimmy Duncan ain't this kind of Republican. Jimmy Duncan was not this kind of Republican.
Right.
So people that supported Jimmy Duncan and put money up for Jimmy Duncan, are they going to put up money for Betsy Henderson in this new Republicanism? Don't know. There's a lot of those people that have already put money into Larson's campaign. Larson's got like $300,000 in his war chest.
The war chest.
Which I don't know what an average mayoral campaign costs, but that's a good start.
Yeah.
Especially with, being we're a year out from petition pickup. Not even petition turn-in, petition pickup. We're a little less than a year away from that. And he's already got $300,000 and collecting more every day.
Election
full disclosure, his campaign is running a derby car in Holyrood, by the way. If you want to come see, you could, like, if you really hate him, you could come see him get hurt.
Right.
If you really love him, you can come see him race to victory. But I know that, like, I mean, after talking to Betsy in person, I intend to talk to her in future. I don't want her to be my mayor. I don't want to be my school board chair. What she did to me on that trip to Nashville was a 1,000% PR politics move, an immoral one at that. And I have issue with that. Me being the fairly open to voucher guy, I don't like these. I don't think this is a good format or plan on the way we're going to institute this version of it. But I'm open to the premise of it. I'm not the complete anti-voucher like Jennifer Owens is. Owen. I always try to say Owens. Jennifer Owen is. I'm not that extreme of an anti-voucher person. But just on a moral, like, you were elected to represent Knox County schools. And I don't care if it's your personal time or not, especially when you're board chair. If you were just a board member, this is a little bit of a different conversation. Right. But as the chair of the board, when you go out and speak in public, you are speaking as the chair of the board. Even if you disclose, this is me in my personal capacity. Fuck off. That's bullshit. And you know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And it's bullshit. And I think, like, just on that, it's, again, like I put the example of it would be Steve Jobs telling Knox County schools to take a Microsoft account. He might be right. It might be the right answer. But it's still his job as the face of that company to advocate for his company, right, not for a different one. So anyway, that's why I think that like, I don't care. Like, I don't know. Like, Betsy's going to have to do a lot of sales to try to get me at least off of actively going against her. I don't know that I can bring myself to vote for her, but at least to pretend like I'm going to be impartial at any point. She's going to have to sell me real well.
All right.
So, if you hate Betsy Henderson, tell your friends about us. I'm going to talk about how much I hate Betsy Henderson a lot over the next couple of years.
You need to be wooed a bit.
I mean, you've got to sell it to me, like, because again, like, what do we expect then if she's mayor? Is she going to be? She's going to be the mayor, not just like Jacobs. Which one of the things I don't like about Jacobs, he goes to the Iowa caucuses. He's in D.C. all the time. He's on Fox News talking about, woke ideology, California, this, that, and the other. It's like, what are you doing?
Right.
You're the mayor of Knox County. Get back in Knox County and take care of business. Unless you're in D.C. to get some grants or some funding or something fixed or something like that you need the federal government's assistance on or whatever, but you're a Republican, the federal government should do that, whatever, But unless you're playing some of that part of the game, I don't want to see you stumping for another candidate. I don't want and Betsy's going to be that person. She's already, she's as a school board member and chair of the school board, she is using her time and energy on things that aren't school board related. What is she going to do as mayor? Same damn thing.
And kind of went against the school board in those actions. So
she's going to go. She is more than capable of going against Knox County on something. Like, we as Knox County residents, we could all be in agreement. Like 99% of us could agree that we want X, and the state of Tennessee can be ready to provide that for us. But Betsy feels like that's not the right thing to do, so she's going to say something and stop it. It's like, then you're not doing your job, and I don't want somebody who is a known not job doer to take a job. That's a technical term. People look it up. It's in the politics playbooks.
No, not job doer.
So, yeah. Anyway, didn't mean to go that far down that rabbit hole. But yeah, that's our 2026 Knox County Mayor race preview. Honestly, like, there's not a lot of action so far in the city races. There's only like 5 people that have done any paperwork so far.
Are there that many incumbents that?
I mean, yeah, there's 5 seats. There's 5 of the 6. Okay, so remember, we've talked about this a bunch. So the city races, District 5, mayor and the at-larges all run on one cycle, and that adds up to 5 races on one cycle. And then 5 of the other 6 districts, or the other 5 of districts run on the other cycle.
Right.
So there's only 10 people elected in city county, or in city government. So District 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 are all on the ballot this year. I've only seen like 3 or 4 people have actually picked up petitions, let alone turned them back in yet. I know we've got Matt. Matt. We'll just say Matt. I'm not gonna try to say his last name. Day. I've got his card over there, and if you want to try to read it for me, but it's Matt Day Borderline. Is running to replace Lauren Ryder, and I've met him and talked to him. Just because, realtors tend to have the time and energy to run for races. And so just in a weird small world kind of thing, he represents a couple of different companies he has some clients who have interest in some stuff that are coming into the holler. And so I was talking to some people about some of the different stuff we've got going on in the holler. And it's like, hey, you need to talk to this guy. He's with the company that's in the process of buying this piece of property, and this other piece of property that's been listed. He's the listing agent for the people that own that actual piece of property, and blah, blah, blah. And so I actually met him from his day job perspective, not from his client or his campaign perspective.
Yeah.
But I did say we do need to, at some point when races get a little further along, we'll have to do an interview show.
Do you think it's uncommon for, I guess, not that many petitions to be pulled at this point?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like
you sound like you're kind of surprised.
I feel like by April in years past on city races, I'm sitting here trying to make my list out of trying to get in touch with people.
Right.
Like when I was better at doing interviews, which I promise I'm going to get better at doing interviews, people. I really want to. When I was better at doing interviews more regularly and trying to get the goal has always been I want to have one cycle where I have every candidate, primary and all, that I have an interview on file with before Election Day. That's always been the goal. And so, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just I feel like I've already had a list for this cycle. There's with 5 seats. I feel like I've already had looked at a list of 10, 12 people. I guess I could look it up officially right now if you want. Well, it doesn't say who picked up a petition. I have to go through.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would have that. Say they could list, who's turned in petitions.
Petitions issued and returned. Issued to. Well, we got a handful. Oh, Nick Cipero's running again. I'll have to get him back in here. Deirdre Harper. I talked to her back in the day. Karen Adams for District 1. Jeremy Coffey and Nathan Honeycutt are District 2. Nick Cipero, Ivan Harmon. Doug Lloyd, Frank Ramsey in District 3. There you go. Say that word. Oh, I don't have the TV open for you. All right. The DEBARDELABEN.
I don't have to look at him.
I didn't turn the TV on for you. My bad. I mean, hell, half the time that TV turns on by itself. He's running for District 4 as well as Jeff Tallman, Sam Brown, Charles Frazier, Tibor Gal, Deirdre Harper, and Jordan Wally are all picked up petitions for District 6. Return petitions from Karen Adams for District 1, Nathan Honeycutt for District 2, Ivan Harmon and Doug Lloyd have returned theirs for District 3, and Matt DeBartoleben has turned in his for District 4. So we have 5 return petitions so far of about a dozen. That seems about right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So fingers crossed we get somebody else to run for District 1, so we at least have a race. But last year, in the 23 cycle, the District 5, no challenge. It was the same guy that's held it currently.
We usually see that in a lot of the races. There's at least like one or two kind of districts where it's just one person.
Indeed, we do see that on a fairly regular basis. So,
I wonder how many people are like, well, fuck, if I would have known that, I would have ran.
Yeah.
Like, that guy just got a gimme.
Well, that was a fun one. I can't remember her name. I wish she deserves for me to remember her name, and I apologize for forgetting. But that was back in 22 cycle. I think there was a girl who was running a write-in campaign because she was upset that they're only Zachary. Nobody ran against Zachary in the Republican primary, and there were no other names on the ballot, period, for that seat. And so she started a write-in campaign, and she came in and we talked to her. I remember having that. That was a fun conversation because it was more about the process of being a write-in candidate and understanding how that works than it was about her campaign or anything she was trying to do.
I remember that. Was that the one where that's where we kind of learned that you've got to put in like 7 different variations of your name just in case somebody else misspells your name?
Yep. You got to. It only counts if it matches a version of your name that you give the election commission.
So even if it's crazy at the same
right,
time.
Even if it's clearly a terrible spelling of your name, it has to be one of the versions that you submit to them. So you've got to try to brainstorm the worst way to spell your own name.
Right.
If
I was not myself,
I wonder,
and was not in my right mind, how might I misspell my name?
I wonder if so I'm gonna run myself as a write-in candidate, and I'm gonna put Peyton Manning and Jesus Christ.
Santa Claus,
like standard spellings of a couple of the ones that people like to write in as a kind of a joke.
Right. Actually, I'm assuming there's probably some rule against that.
I don't know. Chris Davis, shoot me an email. Let me know if I run a write-in campaign as an official write-in candidate, and I give you like 55 misspellings, Seth, and one of those misspellings is Jessus. And one of the misspellings of my last name is Christ. Is that official? Can that count? Anyone but is my first name.
Some people call me Elvis. I mean,
yeah, I'll have to hit up the Mega Bullhorn of Truth and go through some of that's one of his favorite things. I forgot his name all of a sudden. He likes to do he likes to go through the write-ins and see what some of the funny write-ins people do.
Yeah.
There's a name I haven't seen in a while. Meg McMuffin out there she got written in for sheriff a couple times.
Nice
with numbers like 20, but it's still for a random citizen to get 20 write-ins is really kind of funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, I forgot where we started that, but yeah. So I'll start working on city people. Well, it's fine. I'll start doing it. I'll get one. I should have looked at that while I was on the election commission website. What the timing is? Knox County schools individually. This one I thought was weird. Did you see this story that Knox County schools individually, not the school or the school boards or the county as a whole, but schools individually have to write letters to the to somewhere that they do not do any DEI programming.
Yeah, I thought it was just like a district or the county. I saw something on that.
Maybe I misread it.
It was basically like a pledge, basically, that you will either take out any DEI or you will not, have any kind of like DEI programming.
Yeah. So that's happening. At the same time, we're trying to dismantle the Federal Board of Education. We're making sure that the local schools capitulate to the requests of the Federal Board of Education in order to continue to receive funding.
It's weird. Conservatives always rail about the federal government having power over the schools and give it back down to the states, and they're like, "Well, we have decided upon high that."
Well, that's what's so obnoxious about it. It's like literally you are actively trying to dismantle the Department of Education. I'm not even going to have I hate the idea or love the idea part of the conversation right now. Just literally, this is what is happening. And while this is happening, this Department of Education that you are trying to dismantle is sending out letters saying, you need to respond to this to tell us that you're not doing this thing to continue to get money from us.
Right. Yeah, I think I saw a congressional meeting on it, or congressional thing on it.
Even if you do write the letter and say, we're not doing this thing, keep giving us the money, if the federal government gets what he wants, well, if Trump and the White House get what they want right now, you're still not going to get the money. Not, or at least in the near term, if they get their way,
Right.
the Department of Ed goes away. Now, one of the questions here is what is the funding for? A lot of what little percentage of the federal Department of Education goes into K through 12 schools is for special ed. It's a significant sum of money, but it's a small percentage of the total department. A lot of it is special ed stuff. Now, my understanding of what the actual plan is when they kill the Department of Education is that would go into Health and Human Services,
Right.
and continue to happen. And so maybe you go ahead and get this document to them so you can continue to get that funding. And so when it does shift over to Health and Human Services, you continue to get the funding. Because Health and Human Services is also going to say, you can't have some DEI shit or we're not going to give you money.
Right. Yeah, the little hearing or whatever I saw on it, they were questioning, I don't think it was Miss McMahon, but they were questioning somebody in the administration. I'm like, okay, you've sent out these letters, and you've also cut staff at the Department of Education. Like, who are they writing these letters to? Like, who's reviewing them? If you've cut down on staff, like, how do you expect them to go through,
Right.
all these requirements you've put out for every single school system to, respond with a pledge or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it's maddening. The whole thing's maddening. I don't want to go, I don't want to do it. The tariff thing happened. I don't want to rail on the tariff thing.
Happy belated Liberation Day.
I know. Okay, fine.
I feel liberated.
We're there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it. Apparently, okay. So the chart apparently is bullshit, right?
Which chart?
The chart that Trump was holding up when he was talking.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, these percentage numbers that they're showing that other countries charge us apparently was some crazy math.
Well, I saw they released the equation for it. I've also heard that, from a couple different places that were like, this is the result you get if you ask, an AI to come up with a tariff policy. And some people basically, did the simple math, and they're like, wait, they went through all the countries and kind of reverse engineered the numbers. They're like, okay, so they basically just look at the trade deficit and then just halved it, and then that's the percentage they've tacked on.
Right. Right, because I can't remember what the country was. Crystal had a very good example. Is there some random country?
Yeah, it was Lesotho, I think.
Yeah, and neighbors South Africa, but north of South Africa or whatever, who is super poor, and they export diamonds, and they import nothing. They don't import nothing because they don't want to. They don't import anything because they don't have money to buy stuff. So we have a huge trade deficit with them because we buy diamonds. And diamonds aren't cheap.
Right. And they can't afford to buy stuff from America.
Right.
And have it shipped over there.
Even though they are the ones digging these expensive things out of the ground, and our companies are probably doing it, but they're employing local people to do the labor.
Right.
They can't afford to buy things other than, maybe some food.
Yeah. They're not making diamond money.
Right.
They're just mining diamonds.
And so we have a huge trade deficit with them. So, but again, they're not buying anything anyway, so what's it hurt them if they have it doesn't hurt them. I don't know. I guess it hurts diamond sales, which I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't know. Whatever.
I've seen in some circles there's been a growing use of fake diamonds.
I'd be curious on the math on some of the major actual economic players. Lesotho, poor example, whatever. But I'd be curious what the actual math is on Germany. Does Germany have import tariffs on U.S. cars? I bet they do.
Probably, yeah.
Did we have existing imports on German cars prior to this?
Probably some.
I don't know. That's the question, and this is part of why this works on the Trump. This is why the narrative works for Trump, because
right.
people don't know.
I've seen some. Last month when some of the Canadian ones came out, I've seen some of the breakdowns on some of those over what the administration was saying versus, at least what the Canadians were claiming. There was one about Canada was ripping off Wisconsin with milk with 250% subsidies or extra tax on it.
Right.
Which I think that is something that's in place, but that's only when whatever province that's right above Wisconsin, basically once it reaches 250 million gallons of milk, does it hit that extra level of extra tax, which apparently never happens. But if you looked at just the policy, it was oh, look at what they're doing, our milk producers. They're flooding all this cheap Canadian milk, which I still want to know why their eggs are cheaper. I've seen Canadians posting lots of pictures of them buying eggs at the grocery store and oh, look, they're $3 here.
I don't know.
I've heard some of it, their egg operations are smaller. So if they do have like an outbreak, it's less chickens, I guess, they have to cull.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I did buy quiche yesterday, but I haven't bought eggs in a while.
Well, you got some eggs. I might have a receipt over there. I can see what.
I think I did see once where I was at a grocery store where they actually had a sign like limiting
this time of year right now,
right?
Because everybody's buying their Easter eggs.
Yeah.
So
they're going out egging cars.
Egging Teslas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's like I don't know. I don't know. Like I get the concept. But there's no grand plan here, and that's always the problem with Trump, I guess, is there's no grand plan. Like I get the concept.
That's kind of what I seem to be hearing, like from other countries. They're just like these make no sense. Like these are illogical tariffs.
I mean,
it's just like you say, we've been ripping them off for years. Like, okay, what?
Hey,
and just kind of like blanket tariffs. It's not okay. This particular market or this particular product or whatever is it's killing our industry here. That makes sense. With just kind of like broad across the board, blanket tariffs.
Right. Because, again, like the Lesotho example, there aren't diamond mines in the U.S. that are not operating because we can't compete.
Right.
There's not diamond mines in the U.S. because there's not diamond mines in the U.S.
Right.
And so putting a tariff on a country whose mass export, the only real export is diamonds, isn't going to help the U.S. diamond industry because there isn't one. We import all of them.
But we could refine them here.
We do, and we will continue to, but it doesn't change the fact that we don't have diamond mines here.
Yeah.
And so that does, right, like on that level, it doesn't make any sense. Other than...
I think it was on Breaking Point, when I was talking about it. It was kind of like looking forward, and, is the administration going to, have economic negotiations with each country, like individually, and then how's that going to work out? You're looking at, was it like 80 or 90 countries they've kind of put tariffs on?
Well, that's fine. I mean, if it, like maybe some of this, I don't know.
Right.
Like there's some of this stuff that there's probably some of these countries we haven't even had any contact with, and just like this is how it's always been. We don't pay attention to that one anymore. Maybe maybe this starts a discussion that maybe we should have had a decade ago. I don't know. To be fair. But I mean, realistically,
most comments I've seen are just kind of like this could work out. I think there's even conservative economists that basically put it at like a 50-50. Yeah, and I think that was before China just did the reciprocal tariffs either earlier today or yesterday.
Right. But I mean, what do we export? That's the problem I have.
We export some stuff. I
mean, Jack Daniels, because they were taking Jack Daniels off the liquor store shelves in Canada last week.
Right.
But I mean, realistically, like we don't export that much stuff.
We have American kind of like goods or whatever that are more desirable outside of the U.S.
Yeah, like Disney movies.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean,
there's big money in it, but
right. Which I mean, there's interest. Like
Coca-Cola is probably that's a big worldwide.
But I don't know how the math. Like, see, that's one of the questions I have. Like, I don't know how the math works on that. Like it's you don't go down to Atlanta and there's a factory that's creating cans of Coca-Cola that are getting packed up, palleted up, and then sent to Botswana or whatever.
Right.
There's, in Africa, Botswana maybe not the correct example, but there are plants
right.
that are producing Coca-Cola in Africa. So you're not importing Coca-Cola to Botswana from the U.S., and so if Botswana puts a tariff on U.S. imports, okay.
No, do they get to qualify that as earnings? If they're headquartered here in the U.S.,
I don't know,
but their earnings are in another country.
But I mean, the tax is on the movement of the product, not the like. Because one of the things that
I'm saying outside of tariffs.
Well, one of the things that I'm concerned with is that the 30% that they dropped on Vietnam, because a lot of the companies that I buy stuff from that are made in China are moving production into Vietnam,
right? Because it's pass through.
To avoid the tariff set. And it's like, well, now we dropped one on Vietnam. And it's like, well, okay. That hurts me. But it's like, what's the... Is it like... What's the end game here? There's no end game. There's no, like, through thought process here. Because my products aren't... I can't produce them. They cannot be produced here.
Right.
I mean, they could be produced here, but on
not cheap. Not at the
even with the 30% tariff, I still couldn't figure out how to compete. Maybe, I don't know, somebody might be able to figure it out. There's one company that does half of their stuff here.
Yeah.
And so they'll pay the tariff on the component import, but not the finished good import, which changes the value.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing, which is not a bad position to be in as a company. That's all great. There was a great thing. NBC News was trying to be fair about the whole thing, I guess, and they talked to a company that basically, like, I think it's Little Tykes. It isn't the company, but like the plastic kids toys, like the little small like houses that have a slide and the crawl through and you climb on kind of things, like it's just that foam plastic thing they pop together or whatever, like a seahorse, not a seahorse, what's the thing called?
Teeter-totter?
A teeter-totter, like little mini plastic teeter-totter. It's like this is what this company made. They're in Ohio or something like that. And the owner of that company is like, this is awesome. Because like we make these products, and we make these similar products to Fisher Price has their Little Tykes brand that they make basically the same thing as we do, but they ship it in from China and they pay their employees. Like he's making that whole argument.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like that's where it makes sense. We have a local, we have a stateside company that makes it. We could do it. Now,
but can they do it at scale?
Right. And do the tariffs still affect them because their plastic pellets are getting imported from Oman or whatever, whoever's producing the plastic?
Right.
And will the tariff hit them in a different place? We don't know yet.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be the biggest. It could be the most substantial shift in economic culture of the United States in the history of time. And it could turn out well. Like I could see a place where this could turn out well. Because one of the things that I do agree, this is a Sagar point that he makes a bunch of times. It's like we have become this consumer society that buys disposable crap.
Yeah.
Now
we want it cheap.
Right. Now, when this all of a sudden we want a cheap thing isn't an option anymore, do we start turning into a more quality consumer society and buy things that last and buy things that are good, and over time, does that make a better world, or does that make us a better nation? It's an interesting. It's a potential.
Yeah.
It takes but it's a culture shift, and that's the thing that people don't. That's the conversation I'm not hearing on the tariff conversation. Like, okay, yes, things are going to get more expensive. Yes, things are going to be difficult. But if this shifts the way we culturally interact, is it a bad thing?
How would it change how we culturally interact?
I mean, just with because I think that this onslaught of this it's the Fight Club thing, the single serving friend. Remember that little scene from Fight Club?
I don't think so.
So when he meets Tyler Durden for the first time on the airplane, and he's sitting next to him, and he's talking to him, whatever, and he says, Brad Pitt, Tyler Durden, they're sitting on the exit row, on the emergency exit row, and they're talking about the whole anyway. Brad Pitt gets up, he's like, that's too much responsibility for me. I'm leaving, and he said, and the Edward Norton character says, you are by far the most interesting single serving friend I've ever had. And then he starts explaining to it, and Tyler's like, yeah, I get it. It's not that funny. And he's like, because anyway, the Ed Norton character's whole thing is he travels all the time and does all this stuff for the work, and it's like he has this single serving dinner, single serving salt and pepper, single serving, all these things that we do with the single serving lifestyle that has become normal.
Right.
If it takes us out of that framework, that's a cultural framework. We've become normalized to that. We do our takeout Saturday thing. We always go order takeout on Saturday. And like some of the more advanced online ordering systems, at the end of the order will ask, do you want silverware or not? I'll say no, and they still put it in the thing. Which is just throwing money away from the company's perspective.
That's force of habit for people that are packaging up to go
right,
orders. And
I don't blame them for it. And I actually appreciate the idea that the company's trying to just take
they may have forgotten that they're going to need a fork to eat this.
Right. It's going to their house. They're going to eat. They have their own silverware. They don't need our silverware. Whatever, but I'm just saying, like that thing. Like I always it always strikes me weird when my employees like Uber Eats everything.
Right.
Like there's a Subway from our Emory Road store. There's a Subway 500 yards, and they'll Uber Eats it to them. It's like, look, I don't care if you're not working by yourself. Like if you're stuck by yourself, like you were when you were working for us at the West store a lot, sure, do the delivery thing. But if you want to run over there and get your sandwich, go run over there and get your sandwich.
Yeah.
Not to mention there's a Firehouse one door away. But it's like she Uber Eats, she Postmated a Cracker Barrel the other day. It's like I never even thought to order Cracker Barrels. Ugh. But whatever. But it's just like, but that is how she gets her food.
Yeah.
That is how her brain works. When I get food, somebody brings me my food. I order from wherever I want, and they bring it to me.
It's much more common, especially kind of with younger people, just because it's the ease of it. You can have the app on your phone. They're like, oh, I'm at this place. I can have somebody bring me food. And it'll just cost me an extra $8.
Your $9 extra value meal comes out to $22, and then you tip $7. And
right.
Which I don't pay my employees that well. Like that's what drives me crazy about it. It's like I don't pay you well enough to do this. I don't do that, and I make way more than you as your boss. How does this work? Like I joke all the time. I pay you guys too much. Like I make that joke all the time. If you could do this, I pay you guys too much. And that's my old man. I know that's a cultural thing on my side, but I don't think I don't know. Maybe that's what it is, and that's what Sagar is too. Because Sagar is an old man in younger man's skin, and maybe that's what his thing is. It's a get off my lawn kind of thing. It's like these kids these days need to get better at being real people.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we don't like to compare the stocks to the kind of measure of economies, but stocks across the world have kind of been rattled by this. I think I saw like $2 trillion worth of U.S. stocks have lost. Yeah,
good. I don't know. Like I don't know. Like I'm in a point. Like I don't like. It doesn't.
Well, I mean, if this is meant to bring in more manufacturing, like that's when these companies that have just lost a shit ton of money aren't looking to build another factory or open up another bottling plant. They're probably looking at laying off people because they just lost a shit ton of value in their company themselves.
Money. They lost value. The value they didn't lose money. They lost value.
And they lost the value in the company. Yes.
But I mean, the way to overcome that, and if all you care about is your stock price as a business, which you are legally obliged to because the U.S. law is stupid like that. But if all you care about is your stock price as a business, is you figure out how do you make it more valuable. Well, I don't know. Like that's like okay. Like I need to look at it. Like I don't even know how to make this argument without seeing something.
I mean, I get it. It decreases their general worth with the stock going low, but doesn't that also kind of equate to, I guess, their valuation? We talk about Musk and some of the richest people take stocks as part of their pay, basically.
Yeah, well, fuck them. I don't care about them.
Well, no, I'm just
people that's the stock market.
I'm just trying to think of how it equates to, I guess, the money that the company has on hand, basically.
Right.
I would assume that if their company is now worth less money.
No. It affects their ability to get loans. Okay, so
by using their company or whatever shares as collateral.
When you go public as a company, all right, so like for example, Max and I own Seal Holdings. Seal Holdings is the parent company of V-Vape Lounge. We are a private corporation. We're a private LLC, limited liability corporation. All right. So if we wanted to go public, we can. There are certain thresholds you have to meet, which we wouldn't. But theoretically, we could go public. When we go public, all that happens, it's no different than if I let you individually, privately, buy 10% of the company. But hey, I like your company. I like what you're doing. I would like to buy some of your company. Max and I have a conversation. We say, we'll sell you 10% for $1 million. That $1 million that you give us goes to us, not to the company. Goes to us.
Right. Because
you were buying 5% from me and 5% from him. Or however we negotiate that between the three of us, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't go into the company unless we choose to, as the agreement when we set up for the sale. When we go public, if we wanted to go public on like the New York Stock Exchange or something like that, what we're doing is we do our initial public offering, and then that money is going into the company. So we say we have 1 million shares. We're going to sell 499,000 of our shares. I'm going to hold on to the majority of the shares so I can hold on control. But we do have to have a board and all those kind of things. But I control the board because I control the majority of shares. I'm going to sell well, let me back down. We'll say we're 100 shares. I'm going to sell 49 shares at $20 a share. That $20 a share, 49 shares, is $1,000 minus 20, so $980 goes into the company, and then we spend that on the thing that we do. And then once that happens, it's done. Unless we sell more shares, unless we create new shares, or I sell the shares that I own as the majority holder of the company, it's done. It doesn't change anything. Like, it doesn't go into the company per se unless I choose to put it in the company. Like, that 51 shares that I still hold of this company that went public, if I go sell those on the stock market, that's my money. That's not the company's money. If I choose to take the money that I take from that sale and put it into the company because I want the company to survive, that's a choice I make. But at the end of the day, you own, like, once the shares are out, unless we are distributing new shares, no new money is coming into the company. And so the stock value is, like, it's irrelevant to what the function is of the company. It doesn't change the company's functionality other than its ability to take loans against its assets.
I mean, I would think it would change their operational mindset depending on what their company is valued at, but I don't know. It's beyond me.
I mean, it's like the GameStop thing. The GameStop, like, functionally, GameStop didn't change what they did on the street. When you went into Westtown Mall out here and went into GameStop, they had the same shit they had the day before and the day after that whole crazy thing happened. But their stock value went from X to Y, and it was a huge jump because of that whole little game that got played.
Right.
But the company wasn't changing what they were doing. They didn't have more money. They weren't buying more products to put on shelves. They weren't selling more products at the time that they were doing it. It had nothing to do with the actual day-to-day of the company.
So the only thing it would really affect is that, from your mind, would be their ability to take a large business loan,
right? Well,
against
again,
their
clarify,
assets.
To clarify a little bit, I own 51 shares of the 100. You own 49 shares of the 100. The company can own shares of itself too. If the company sells a share, that money goes into the company. So if, again, staying on our 100 example, I own 34, you own 33, and the company itself owns 33. If the company sells those shares, that money goes in to operations. And that does happen. That's why the stock buyback is a big argument on these bailouts. So, like, when you bail a company out and they buy back stock, it's like, well, that's fucked up.
Right.
Because all you're doing when you buy back stock is buying your ability to sell that stock in the future to raise money to do a thing. It's like, well, you just got a fucking $1 million from the government.
Okay, so just back up and ask you again.
Okay.
So the only downside that you see to a company's valuation going down, or the only thing that it would inhibit would be their ability to borrow money.
On the
that's the only
on the company side, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Now on the general public side, who is buying and trading and doing and stuff like that, it's going to affect their 401k or whatever it is that stock was included in.
Right. I'm talking. I was just trying to ask from the company standpoint.
But from the company side, as I understand it, it doesn't change their ability to do X, Y, or Z. It doesn't give them more assets to play with. It doesn't give them the ability to do more things. Like, generally speaking,
there's no reason for them to lay people off just because they lost valuation in the company.
No. When they lose that valuation in the company because they see the economic trend on why they lost that valuation, sure.
They lost the valuation just because the stock market in general went down for, like, across the board.
Yeah, but
I did see there were a few companies that made some money.
Like, as far as I understand it, and I could be totally wrong, almost rooming@gmail.com, tell me about how wrong I am. As far as I understand it, it has no effect. It doesn't change anything on the day-to-day operations of a company.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense that it would, because it's an asset. It's just like it's a coin, for lack of a better word. We printed 100 coins that have my face on them for my company. I gave you one, or I sold you one for $10. You sold that thing to somebody else for $15. You do what you want. It's your coin now, but it doesn't have anything to do with the company anymore.
Okay.
I don't see it any other way.
I'm not going to try to refute you.
Okay.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying okay.
Because to me, I do have some.
I don't pretend to know economics.
I do have a tiny itty bitty bit of some sort of something savings thing that my mom set up for me when I was a kid. That I sold most of it off when we bought the house and kind of stuff like that, which was the point. But it's like I like last I remember I had like $1,000 in this one account, and it's going to probably be down to like $700. But like like it doesn't like the stock market could go to zero tomorrow. Like the Great Depression could happen. Like as far as the stock market version, we could have a huge market crash. And what does that change for me? What does that change for you?
Depends on how it's affected.
Like just on the like I understand that it is an indicator of things, but just in and of itself, how much money do you have in the stock market right now?
0. I think I've got a 401k from like a previous job that I'm not even sure how to access it anymore.
I had like $200 in random stocks on my Cash App, and I sold it all to pay off a gambling debt. And I joked with my accountant today because because Cash App gives me a tax document, a 1099-B or something like that. And I was like, yeah, I sold out of those on a good time. Like I didn't tell her why I sold them out, but I was like, I sold out on a good time. She's like, yeah, I've been looking at. She's like, usually I like to go, do my my book, do my personal booking on my stock accounts. I'm not looking forward to doing those right now. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't be looking forward to doing it. It doesn't make a difference to me. Like, I mean, literally, the Dow Jones could lose 10 million points tomorrow. I don't even know what the fucking number is. I mean, Dow Jones is just a math. Like, that's just equation. It's an algorithm that was created to simplify what the stock market is. Dow Jones is just like the top 300 companies that they average out to pick a singular number.
Yeah,
but I mean, like Mutual of Berkshire Hathaway could go to zero tomorrow. Like, what? I don't care.
I saw something about him selling off some of his stocks, and there was question of what it meant.
I mean, there's rumor that Trump is doing this on purpose to crash because I mean, this is true. At the end of the day, the people who are most capable of buying when the market crashes are the richest people in the world.
Right.
So, as the rest of us are trying to sell off and trying to hold on to as much value as we can and get rid of it.
Right. Who can afford to buy things for pennies on the dollar? The people that still have that money.
Right.
That didn't lose all that money, that had money tied up in stocks, mutual funds, etc.
Right. And so I wouldn't put it past, just functionally, I wouldn't put past Trump at this, that is the actual move by Trump here.
And that's what happened in 2008. You had a lot of companies that crashed, and you had consolidation of banks.
Yeah.
They were able to buy up essentially other companies for cheaper than what they would have.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, they buy up their own competitors, which isn't uncommon in the business world, but it's a lot better when you get to buy your competitor for even cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, we could put the conspiracy theory on that's what's going on here. This is an intentional move by Trump to make his rich buddies richer. Tank the market. Everybody buys. Dismantle all the bullshit that Trump's putting in place. Market comes back. His buddies own all the market.
It's possible.
I mean, it makes sense theoretically. I mean, functionally, it makes sense. I suppose not theoretically.
Yeah.
All right, I've been holding on to this video. Let's do this video.
All right, I'll turn on the TV. You want me to turn on the TV?
Congressman Perry, do you trust Trump's national security team to keep our war plans top secret?
Do you trust your mother every night to fix your Hot Pockets and make sure your Game Boy is turned on?
No, the video, I apologize. I didn't have the TV on. Have you seen that video yet?
No. I can tell who it is, but do I need to see it? Is there actual visual aid to it?
I don't know how well you heard it.
I heard it.
Oh. Okay. My bad, people. I didn't have the... Did you hear the whole thing? I don't care. We don't have to watch it again.
You can play it again if you want. It wasn't long.
This is from the Fox News Facebook page.
Congressman Perry, do you trust Trump's national security team to keep our war plans top secret?
Do you trust your mother every night to fix your Hot Pockets and make sure your Game Boy is turned on?
I mean, that's a killer line. It's a dick move. I'm not proud of my our rep being an asshole to that level.
And
but
why
it's
do you say
funny.
it with a smile?
Do
Because
I?
it's funny.
It cracks me up. Yes, it's hilarious to me.
I think it's poor representation of
I do think.
representative.
I think it's a shit. I think it's a shitty thing to do because I think it's a legitimate question.
Absolutely.
I think it's a totally legitimate question. I think it's like, come on.
You did a great job answering it, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great non-answer.
I mean, at least give a half-ass answer instead of just, I don't know.
Now, I don't know if there's any history to this person, and like that's one I haven't heard anything about.
Yeah.
Like, I'll bet you that Burchett's got some regulars.
Doesn't look like a high-profile reporter. I mean, he's got his own cell phone.
He's just some
He
kid.
could be an independent journalist, but I don't know.
I mean, for the pure comedy sake of it, to have that line in your back pocket is pretty awesome. Like I couldn't pull that off on the fly. Could you pull that off on the fly?
No, but I'd say it's probably not the first time he's ever said that.
I feel like somebody called that part out. He does. He draws that line on everybody instead of answering the question. Like, I think somebody would have made that statement at this point.
I don't know. It'd be hard to find, but I'm sure you could probably go back. I'm reluctant to think that he came up with that on his own either. Saw somebody else say it, and he was like, I like that. That's pretty good.
Either way, like, to pull it out on the spot, I feel like my guess is that this kid's a regular.
Could have been a whole stage thing to begin with.
My guess is this kid's a regular.
Think so?
Yeah.
It's constantly hounding him.
Right. That just hangs out outside the Capitol building and walks down the street with whoever and asks questions. I mean, again, it's a good question. Like, it's a legitimately good question.
Yeah.
And especially from Burchett, especially for Burchett, who...
Is he on the armed services?
I don't remember, but, his whole, alien thing, the one time I talked to him, all we talked about was alien stuff.
Right.
And his complaint is, it's like, I'm a fucking congressman. I get to know what I want to know, and they're not telling me the truth. Or they're not telling me anything. They're giving me the runaround. And it's like, okay, that's your thing. That's cool. I like it. I'm on board with this thing. I don't think they should be able to keep secrets from any of us either. Find out the truth. Tell us about it. I want to hear it.
Would you have wanted to know about the Signal Gate prior to?
Sure. Why not? I don't care.
Should you be privy to it?
Like, the legally... I don't... Yes. No, I don't fucking know. Should it be legal for them to have that conversation? Not... Yeah.
I'm just trying to ask of the general public or even congressmen should be apprised of so much more information. I'm just wondering from a citizen standpoint of how much of that you think you should have known, I guess, timeline-wise. How much of that do you think you should have been privy to, or should be? I mean,
if they're going to do
should be open.
If they're going to have the conversation publicly, then yes, I should be part of it. Which they did because they're idiots.
Would you consider that public? I mean,
yeah. When you loop in a reporter to your conversation, then you are putting it to the public.
I can kind of see that.
I mean, like, where was anybody else in the conversation other than Mike going, hey, who's this? Whose phone number is that?
Well, I think there was 18 people, and I'm assuming if he didn't say anything, I doubt anyone really backed out of the chat.
It says added Mike whatever added this to the call.
Right. But I don't know when that happened in the that could have been early on in the conversation. I mean, I think it just popped up as his initials. And there was speculation as to who they could have misidentified him as.
Treasury Secretary has the same initials.
No, the Treasury Secretary was on it. Because I've heard that some of the pushback of why the fuck was the Treasury Secretary on this about an upcoming strike? Why does he need to know about this?
I mean, the correct answer, Mr. Burchett, is no. I don't trust them because obviously they didn't do a good job keeping the secret. But I'm also Tim Burchett, who doesn't like the secrets that they keep. So I'm not mad that their secrets are out.
No.
That's kind of my take on my understanding of Burchett. Although I doubt he's consistent. He doesn't want them to keep secrets on things he wants to know about, but he's fine with them keeping secrets about things like this. That would be my guess at how old Timmy actually feels about the specifics.
I think I did see I guess it was Defense Department Inspector General was at least looking at, I guess, Hexas involvement in it. We'll see what becomes of it. 'Cause I think the White House pretty much said, case closed. We're done with this. This is over. This is the last week.
Idiots.
You guys are so old. That's so old news.
It's going to be constant. It's going to be constant. You're just like politically just politics. Every day, anything. Every day, all day. I I feel dumb for making the argument against Hillary. Like, I feel dumb for agreeing with Trump on the Hillary thing, which was not nearly as nakedly ridiculous as this one is.
Yeah.
And it's like, I agreed with you. Like, this is something that I actually, like, this is something I was pro-Trump on. Hillary broke the law, lightly, but broke the law on putting things out in a non-secure fashion as the Secretary of State. And should be punished for that. So should everyone in this fucking phone call. Or text signal thread or whatever it's called. You don't get to run on that complaint and then be like, well, my guy did it. Never mind. Whatever.
I've heard some people kind of question as to why none of the people in the group, that were at least should be more knowledgeable on kind of like secrecy laws or whatever. Of like, maybe we shouldn't be putting this out over Signal. Or maybe we need to create a separate, chat group that only has like the 6 of us with the essential instead of 18.
Right. And like you said last week, it's like well, we did such a good job. That's what we were talking about. It's like, no.
You guys are missing the point here. We just fucking kicked ass. Like, we won. Did you guys not see that? We won.
Right, because, Shippy is fine now. Nothing's an issue.
Nothing's happened. That was a big nothing burger. And more importantly, we won.
Right.
We just kicked ass.
Right. And I think
pressed the buttons.
I'll repeat what I said last week. You're dumb. I'm dumb. Everybody who watches the news is dumb. We're so stupid that we can't see this for what it is that they just think we're dumb and we're just going to not care about this.
I think some of it they just don't want to admit mistake. I mean, you never want to admit fault because then that just allows the pouring on.
And that they're also right that this is going to fall into the pile of stuff. And then, well, what are you going to do? You're going to vote for a Democrat? I mean, then it's a fair statement. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to vote for a Democrat now? For a significant set of the population, the answer's still no. And again, I think I said this last week. It's like, where's the line? Like, where's the line where this isn't okay anymore? We're well past that for me. What am I going to do about it? I'm just going to stay on here and bitch. That's the best I can do. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I can run and lose for mayor of Knox County? Like, at the same time, too, like this, this is what's actually scary is 7 students at UT have lost their immigration status.
Really?
Something like that. They lost their education visas.
Okay.
And UT's trying to figure out what they're supposed to do about it. Which, on the whim of Rubio or whatever, just revoke their statuses.
I saw a story. There was some, semi-famous college student that was going on trial, and I think it said they pretty much gave up, and they're like, I'm not going to try to fight this. Like, they don't want me at the college, they don't want me in America. No, I'll just go home, fine.
Right. Which is, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's parts of it that I get. Like, I do get the idea of, like, you were given the privilege of coming to this country to study. We ought not have to worry about you agitating the masses while you're here. That's a fair statement. We gave you this privilege and we're allowed to take it back. But agitating the masses on what a third-party country is doing, fuck you. I don't care. Agitate the masses on a third. Like, it's not against our national interest. How is it against our national interest? Make that argument make sense.
No.
That's the problem I have with it. It's like, if you if I don't know, let's say I was a Russian national and I got a student visa to come and study at UT, and I'm on campus starting a communist group and starting a group advocating against the United States. It's doing all this different stuff on campus, trying to agitate for X, Y, and Z. Deport my ass. Totally makes sense. Now, if I'm a Russian national student who comes over here and gets involved with a group who is anti-German U.S. relations, who gives a shit? Like, I'm not advocating against the U.S. I'm saying, like, Germany shouldn't have the right to tell the U.S. how to sell cars. Like, I started a group against German car imports because German cars are messing with U.S. Are German cars. Like my opinion is that German cars are bad for the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
You're going to deport me because Germany doesn't like me? Like there are groups that are. I don't know. I think that's where was it? Maybe it was Colombia. There's this Jewish group, like Israeli Jewish group, who has a list of people that they want Trump to deport, based on those people's opinion on what Israel is doing to Gaza.
It's just a college group, or
Yeah.
this is okay.
Like, and it's a real list, and there are people on this list that are getting picked up and taken out of their education system and sent home.
I've heard of like colleges, and I think they've even done it for just kind of like schools as well, of like set up hotlines where you can like call and report people of like, a teacher that has a rainbow flag on their desk, or a student that they think might be protesting against something illegal.
I mean,
protesting illegal.
I am a free speech absolutist.
And that's where I kind of get lost is, conservatives have been preaching for the longest time of like, hey, we've been censored, we don't have free speech anymore. Yet they seem to be the ones kind of rallying behind like,
but
there's limits to your free speech. You can't.
I'll make
can't
it,
agitate.
but I will. That's I will make an exception to my absolutism. Is that if you're not a citizen, I don't know. I don't know if I agree that you're a free speech absolutist, but I'm gonna have a hard time holding a grudge against you if your free speech is upsetting the international order of what the U.S. thinks is the right whatever. Like, again, like I said, like I mean, like the example I put together, like if I like back in the '60s or whatever, some Cuban national is advocating for, is on campus agitating for communism or whatever, like something like that. Sure, deport his ass. But I'm advocating for trees or something like that. Like, who cares? Like, why? Like, where's the national interest in this deportation? Like, that's the question. Like, where's the national interest in?
It's
the girl
under
they
the guise of getting out criminals and stopping fentanyl.
The girl that they took out of Colombia. Like, I guess the question I have, it's the same question I've had since the beginning, since the October 7th thing, is where's our national interest in whatever the fuck Israel's doing? If somebody in this country, whether they're here as whether me and you, natural born citizens, or they're here on a visa, or they have a green card, their opinion on Israeli government, why does that have anything to do with me and you? Why is there a national security interest in anybody on a third nation's behalf? That makes no sense. Like, and that's the argument, is like, that's the thing. It's like, it's a national interest. Like, where's the national interest in Israel? Like, what is our national interest in Israel? And why does it matter if I don't like Israel? Who cares? They can't deport me, but I can go to jail, probably, somehow.
I'd say part of it, they've been our quote-unquote strongest ally in that region for years, for one reason or another.
But I mean, hell, like, again, I'm a natural born citizen. I should have the right to say, well, great, cool, whatever. I'm not sending my kids to die there. And I'm not okay with anything that has anything to do with even coming close to sending my kids to die there. That shouldn't be a controversial thing to say for me as a U.S. citizen, and nor should it be a controversial thing to say for a visa holder that's here getting schooling. Doesn't make any sense.
But you wouldn't be going to war. You would just be a security guard for, this new Gaza paradise.
Yeah. Where
all those people that used to live in this Gaza paradise are pissed off because they want to go home, and you're between them and their home. To the point that they'll do crazy shit like fly planes into buildings. I don't see how we don't get back there. That's what scares me about this.
I think we've threatened to bomb Iran recently.
Yeah, sure.
There was a whole kind of back and forth where they were trying to have, I think, Trump and I can't remember the Khomeini, maybe, had both kind of like written letters to each other about trying to get, some kind of nuclear deal back on the table I think Iran pretty much was like, no thanks.
And again, why do we care about Iran again? Like, I still don't understand that one.
I guess some of it's, they've always been kind of, or they see Israel as...
I mean, Iran does want to erase Israel from existence.
You know, I guess it goes back to, Obama and trying to get Iran, which I guess we had a nuclear deal at one point, which some say were good, some say were bad. I can't say one way or another. Apparently, the UN and International Atomic Energy Agency or whatever at least thought the deal was...
There was a door for us as the West to check on it.
Right. Or at least send in some kind of inspectors to try to make sure they weren't enriching uranium to weapons grade or whatever. That was one thing I did see about these tiny modular reactors.
Yeah.
One of the downsides to it is essentially, all these little tiny modular reactors essentially create plutonium or create material that can be used to make bombs with.
I mean, all nuclear reactors do.
I think most do, essentially the spent fuel.
Yeah. Which I don't quite like. I don't understand the physics of the bomb in the first place, so that makes total sense. Sure, why not?
I guess it's the fuel that's used to make the explosion.
To make the explosion worse.
Bigger.
More deadly. Longer term deadly. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know why we... I don't know that there is no end game here. I guess
Some people. What are you talking about?
There's no end game in Middle East issues.
Okay,
like there's just no end game.
So I thought you're going back to tariffs.
Well, there's no for sure that one too. Fine, whatever.
It's hard to have an end game for any kind of conflict. You kind of have goals, I would think, to an extent of stop the conflict, but.
What is that? It's like, what's the, I mean, I guess...
At the same time, we don't have much control. I mean, these are people... We're funding one side, essentially, with weapons, etc. But we also can't just kind of jump in the middle of them and be like, hey, you guys break it up.
I mean, I think we could. I think we could just be like, you don't get the money or the guns, and then negotiate. It's the same for both. I mean, both of the active combat situations we're third party involved in. Come to the table and we'll talk. Don't come to the table, we'll take your guns, we'll take the money and the guns away, and then you deal with whatever the consequence is.
Monetary strangulation.
I mean, but again, why? The questions, the question that for both of these conflicts, again, on the moral stance, absolutely. Ukraine has the right to defend itself. Ukraine wants to do whatever it wants to do. They have the right to do that. Do we have the obligation to assist them in doing that? I don't know. Now, the inverse being Israel has the right to defend itself. Sure you do. Absolutely. And, I mean, that's what we did. We got attacked in 9/11, and then we invaded Afghanistan.
Right.
And our premise for invading Afghanistan was the war on terror kind of stuff. And it's like, well, okay, this is our way of reacting to what happened. And, who else has the right to tell us this is not how we're allowed to react? Nobody. Okay, cool, fine, whatever. Well, nobody's paying for our stuff. Who else? Who's paying for my gun to go over to Afghanistan? Now, if the person handing me the gun to go to Afghanistan says, I'm not giving you guns anymore, and I don't know if I want to go to Afghanistan right now without a gun. Because I just picked a fight, and I don't really have the ability to continue to fight if you don't keep giving me the guns to fight. It changes the calculation. Which is why I'm so confused about this whole thing, because I don't understand the net positive for any of these conflicts for us. Why are we paying? Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. I want to go back to that. What else is going on? Let's change that subject.
Okay, good. You're going to a dark place.
I got rambling and dumb, and I'm sorry.
I did read an interesting story. I think it was either Blount County or Maryville got a new canine officer that's trained in sniffing out electronics. I didn't realize this was a thing.
Why? Okay, tell me more. Electronic what?
I guess searching for like cell phones, laptops that might be hidden in a car or whatever they're searching. But eventually, I guess it sniffs out like a metal or something. I'm not exactly sure what they're trained to smell, but they're able to find like hidden electronics, basically.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was a thing.
I didn't realize that it was there. I'm trying to figure out why it needs to be a thing. I don't know.
I mean, I doubt it's to the point where it's like trying to sniff out like, bugs or whatever, microphones and stuff. But I guess it's more for like searching for like cell phones that might be hidden in a room or whatever. I guess they're able to sniff out hidden electronics. I think that was what I got from the gist of the story. It was essentially for sniffing out hidden electronics.
I was trying to think, like okay, so we got a search warrant for your house. All right, so you're a perv and you got kitty porn. We got a search warrant for your house. And we go dig through your house and we can't find any electronics that have any kitty porn on them. But we know you got it. So we bring the dog in and the dog finds it under a floorboard.
Yeah, that would work, yeah.
Okay. Hide and seek game continues, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to figure out why there's a need for that. Like what else? What are you looking for on people hiding electronics are hiding what's on their electronics. What illegal activity is going on in those electronics that you need a dog to find? Like, how do you? I have lots of questions about this. Like, I mean, like that dog would be marking every 10 seconds in my house. We're down here. We got the computer. We got the mixer. We got the microphones. We got the my modem router over there in the corner. I got a light fixture. Got TVs. I got the Roku's. Like, he's gonna be smelling all that shit. How are they gonna find my secret SD card that has all my kitty porn on it in and amongst all the other things I already have? I mean, dogs are awesome. I'll give you that. See? Rowdy agrees. He's awesome. He's got something to say about it. What, dude? Chill out. I was talking about how awesome you are as a species. Phylum?
Do what?
Phylum? Family?
Genus? What?
I'm trying to figure out which one, dogs at large. Like, species would be the individual. Right. Like dog isn't the species. Dog is family, right?
Canine would be.
Yeah,
it's the proper term.
But that's a phylum or a family. I don't know.
Not sure. It's been a while since I took biology.
Oh.
Let's see if I couldn't find something on it. Scent found on hard drives, thumb drives, and tiny SD cards.
Right, so it's the guy that's got his, whatever it is he has stashed on that hard drive that he doesn't keep hooked up to his computer.
Right. You could use the same logic and move it up to like the corporate level. To where a corporate office has, thumb drives hidden or whatever.
Yeah, we don't bother with white-collar crime. Nobody cares about that.
That's very true.
I mean, this administration doesn't. That's for sure.
I was trying to remember, did I send you the article? It was a few weeks ago that it was about, I think it's pretty much if I remember correctly, I think it's basically Justice Department saying that, telling American businesses that they were going to back off on enforcement and looking at foreign bribery, basically. So I kind of read it as it was kind of opening up open season for foreign bribes to American companies for one thing or another, whatever it was they wanted.
Does not surprise me.
And I was like, you came out in the open and said this? Hey, everybody, I just want to make sure you know, like, if you kind of get involved in any bribery, we're not looking into that right now. We're not worried about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool.
In case you were thinking
could have
about
done
doing
that and just not told people, and let that just be the fact that you weren't really doing that shit anyway.
Figure it out when you don't get prosecuted.
All right.
Instead of, I did see Ovi scored one tonight.
I did see.
He went into the game. He
Gretzky
went into the game
and
3 short, and
Bettman showed up to the game.
Yeah, he's at least scored one tonight.
Yeah, I saw he was a hat trick away. I think earlier today I saw that. Looks like he could do it.
Yeah, I saw it was a.
Question is, does he stick around for another season and do it again next year, or
Yeah,
try to tack onto it next year?
Yeah, he went in tonight. He scored at least one tonight, so he's only 2 short or less. Yeah, so that record's happening. We have that's all we can talk about in hockey because our teams suck. I know I don't know, I'm confused with this headline I just read. It says, watch Alex tie Wayne Gretzky for the most goals in NHL history as he scores from his office in the left circle. So it looks like he hit that hat trick tonight. Yeah, he tied it tonight.
He tied it tonight, right? Yeah, I think he needed a hat trick to pass it.
So he scored a second goal tonight.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it looks like it.
That's cool.
Good, because he won't be doing it when he's playing he'll already beat the record before he plays and beats my Pens again. Yeah. At the conclusion of the season. So I'll take it.
I think I did see. I guess Fleury met him at center court for their last game, presumably against each other. I don't think he was in net for that one, but they at least met kind of pregame and kind of congratulated each other. Or I guess it was more Sid congratulating Ovechkin on his run.
Yeah.
I think Sid just passed a record for points.
Yeah,
maybe?
total points. Yeah. It's like what are the Hall brothers or something? I can't remember who it was. He's up there.
It was Mark Recchi that he just passed.
Yeah, it's up there. He's he's in the top 5, I think.
I was thinking it was 15, maybe. I can't remember.
But yeah, he's getting up there.
That's all-time points list, right? Yeah. And he's still playing at a high level.
Yeah. The question is going to be whether he leaves Pittsburgh to get on a team that's got the components to get one more cup before he goes.
Right.
I mean, I think Ovechkin's in the same place. I mean, the Caps are a playoff team, but they're not.
I think they might have been leading. At one point, they were top of the division.
Were they?
I think. Could get me wrong. I thought they were on a tear for a while.
I didn't think they were. I didn't see them as a team that was predicted to be particularly.
Actually, I thought maybe they were the first team to clinch the playoffs.
No, that was Edmonton, Toronto. I don't remember.
Let's see here, standings.
In our sports section, we're watching some.
Yeah, they're number 1 in the Metropolitan.
Oh,
what are they?
That sucks. I love to hate on them
in the league. Yeah, they're number 2 league-wise.
Oh, nice. So they do have a chance to make a run here. What is that? What is that flag? What is that country? We're watching some.
Which one?
Some one fight night. Zakharov.
Almost looked like Hungary for a second, but
I mean, it's light blue, white, and green, and the white blue has a.
I think Argentina has a white and blue with a little emblem in the middle.
Yeah, but it's white, blue. It's blue, white, blue.
Okay.
I want to know what country that is now. I'm trying to think if anything else is going on locally that matters.
I don't think I saw anything else pressing.
Tennessee Valley Fair. The Tennessee Valley Fair is a fun story, sorta. So, Chill-howie Park. The city is planning on turning Chill-howie Park into a park instead of a venue, basically.
That they call a park,
right? And apparently, so Tennessee Valley Fair is a independent nonprofit who has done their major annual event at the Tennessee Valley Fair in Chill-howie Park, and they take all that parking lot down there and turn it into a fair, but it's also Tennessee Valley Fair has always been an agricultural thing too, so they have animal shows,
right.
So they bring out horses, and people do their different horse events, and then they have cows and all these other things. And so apparently some of that, the Tennessee Valley Fair as a company owns some of that land down there. But the city's turning the other parts into a park around it. And the Tennessee Valley Fair is shopping for a new place to call home for the actual fair. And so this is going to be an interesting little, like, kind of flub around, because this is one of those overlaps of the county government, the city government, and the independent entity that is the Tennessee Valley Fair. It's not going to be down in Chill-howie Park for much longer. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Amelia Parker thinks it's a bad thing. She's really mad about it. I'm curious, long term. Like, where is the fair going to go? In Knox County? Because it's like a 10-acre thing. Like, you need a good amount of land. There's not a lot of land that's flat enough in Knox County left.
Yeah.
To do an event space like that.
Just want to go kind of on the far reaches of the county.
Yeah.
Like Straw Plains or something.
Yeah. And even if you do that, like, apparently there is a property right off Straw Plains on the river over there that just went on the market. And
could they do it at the old Smoky Stadium?
I think they should do it at the new Smoky Stadium. That's my suggestion. Like, we built this multi-use facility. Got a friend of mine who has been asked to be the talent buyer.
Nice.
And I'm trying to tell him, yeah, let's do it. Me and you, I'll help. I want in on that. I want to talk to Snoop Dogg's team.
Yeah.
And bring Snoop Dogg to Knoxville. I don't know. It's a crazy little world that part is. It'd be neat. But I can see it being real tough. It's a tough, because you're in that weird middle ground of entertainer.
Yeah.
Like, not big enough to do Thompson, not big enough to do Nayland, not really big enough to
really do a tour. Like, I'm going to do a tour of county fairs.
Right. It's like, you're not big enough to do all those things, but I'm going to do Smoky Stadium in Knoxville.
Right.
I don't know.
Get like REO Speedwagon.
I'm trying to think of what I'm curious if it's out there. I'm sure it is. Maybe not public, but I'm sure the people in the know have it, is how they would want to do setup for it. Because how you set up a baseball stadium to have a band play depends on how many people you can fit and how you want to set it up.
Right.
Like, I feel like to me, looking at the stadium, you put the band in center field, facing the grandstands,
right,
facing home plate.
Would you get any kind of weird, like, sound echo bouncing off of it?
Nah, good sound guy's not worried about it.
Right. So essentially, you're kind of pointing all that sound into kind of like a covered, of a covered area.
You are,
with
but
metal, a lot of metal.
But you're also that's where all the bodies are that eat up all the sound. So you should be able to control that pretty well. It's the thing about putting the band out in center field, though, is that you can't use any of the house systems. It has to be its own system. But you also put the band out in center field. They have that big, cool scoreboard that's like the shape of Tennessee.
Yeah, that's right.
Digital board thing that you can use as part of the visuals for the audience to look at. Where, like, if you put the band at home plate facing out, A, you only have ground level general admission and a little bit of bleacher seating. B, you have nothing for your backdrop other than the empty stands. So I assume that's what the setup's going to be. But then the question is, how many people? Like, what's your capacity if you do it that way? Which could be a fun. I mean, I don't know. I'm curious. Like, and then it's like then the further one is like, okay, so we could do capacity. We could do a capacity crowd of X at $10 a ticket, or we could do a sub-capacity crowd at $40 a ticket. Like, those kind of games. That's the hard part of that job.
Yeah.
Like, who could fill it? Who could fill it up? That's your first question.
You don't want to look bad by over or underselling. Whatever.
Right. Who could fill this motherfucker? That's a good question. Like, who could come? Like, I mean, who could fill? Like, I'm going to say it's probably like I think for baseball it's like 3,500. It's not huge, but if you take 3,500 people in the stands and add another 15 on the field.
Yeah.
You know, who can do 5,000? That's a pretty, I mean, that's got to be a name. It can't just be, you know, Paul or anybody. It's got to be a real, like a real tour, like a tour capable group. You know, then too, it's like, you know, like, I don't know, we're hitting the era though. Like, I mean, Pumpkins could do it. Like, that'd be a pumpkin show.
Yeah.
You know, they're not active enough. Like, they did put a new album out recently, but, you know, they're not active enough that they could do that as a tour stop. But, you know, I don't know. It'd be interesting. I'm curious. I really hope my buddy does it because I really want to be on the inside of those conversations.
I want to know how the meat's made.
How the sausage is made, yeah.
Sausage made.
Well, really, I want to be like, okay, who you got coming that weekend? Yeah, I can work that show.
Yeah.
I will work side stage security and just stand there and watch the band and not really pay attention to anything else. I'm good with that. I can be that guy.
I don't know how fun it would be to be those security people, you know, in the bigger shows where you've kind of got the big, like, cattle gates. But the guys that stand in between the stage and the cattle gates that usually have their back to the band, but still got to have decent sound up there because you're at least picking up some of what's coming out of their monitors.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
You can't really turn around and watch the group as much.
I think it would be awful. Because, well, I don't know. It depends if you want to watch them or not. Like, it'd be easy if you don't care, but...
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I can't... I'd like to go... I'd like to be a part of some of that stuff. That'd be fun. So, I'll take it. If that's the play, I'm going to get in on that. Maybe the Barbarian Productions will take on it, and we'll be the talent buyer. I mean, it's just a schedule game. You just got to get people... You got to get a good marketing team. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff at play, I guess.
There's something else going on in the State House.
No kids. No foreign kids are allowed to come into Knox County schools anymore. That's one that's in play.
I think, did Lee sign that? I thought I read that it had passed the House and was basically waiting on the governor's desk.
I don't know if it got done yet or not.
I think that was the one I saw that somebody got removed. No, I think it was still in. Yeah, because I saw that some protester was in like the committee, one of the committee meetings. That was about that. They got removed.
You know, Chalk Walk is this weekend. Chalk Walk today. Get down there to Market Square and check out the cool art on the floor.
I've seen that once. It's kind of cool.
I mean, it's impressive. Those guys are pretty freaking amazing when they do with chalk.
Yeah.
I can barely write my name legibly. I can barely write my name legibly, period, so that's not really a fair statement.
I like the cool, like, 3D ones that people do, you know, that look like you're, you know, about to, like, walk off a cliff or whatever.
Yeah.
Or it's that realistic.
It's pretty freaking amazing. I respect artists. I am knowing how well I can't do, for lack of a better word, so...
Just don't teach it in schools. We ain't got the money for that.
Never said that. Don't. I know we talked about it last week, 2 weeks ago.
That was last week.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, that's a question. Like that's a question I could do that for anybody. Like, okay, what do we need to be teaching? What do we want? What do we want somebody to
realize
be?
There's a number of different opinions on what should or should not be taught in schools.
And and that's why I think the idea of school choice is so easily sellable.
In theory, but again, I mean, I don't see these parents. I guess you could pre-request curriculum. I guess there's a way to do that before you apply to the school.
I think if you had a school, I think if we were in a world where it was normal that it was known that school A taught this sort of curriculum and its target was to have you capable of doing X at the end, and school B had this target and it was capable of having your kids doing Y at the end. And then, you know, we had, you know, I mean, like, if schools were like fast food restaurants, you know, like, what's the difference in Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King?
Different flavors?
It's a little bit different. Like, the grand scheme of things, that they're not much different. But when you get down to the details, they are different. So, If our education system was like that, I could see the value in it. In that, as a parent, having the choice to pick between McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King, because the different things, like I like that fresh broiled taste that Burger King puts out that Wendy's and McDonald's don't.
But how far are parents going to go through a curriculum of the school? Especially some of the private schools that have pretty much like K through 12. You're getting ready to, let's say, send in your second grader. How far out
I think this is
the curriculum? Even just for like their next grade level that you're getting, their third grade level. How much of that year-long curriculum are you going to read through to make sure that you're cool with how they present this or that?
I think it's the same cover. Like, why does somebody go to when kids are graduating high school and they're looking at colleges? Mm-hmm. Why do you pick college A over college B?
Some just because they got accepted or it's cheaper, but
right. But like my niece wants to go to, I think it's like University of Tampa. Like, I didn't know University of Tampa even existed, but I guess somewhere in her guidance counselor and talking about the stuff and what she wants to do with her life kind of thing, they said University of Tampa has a really good program in whatever. Like that's culturally normal to us at the higher education level, that you pick the school that is better at the thing that you are looking for. Now that's from the kid's perspective when we get to college, but from from a parent's perspective when you're at the lower ed, it would be the same conversation.
No, in college you're talking about much more specialization than general education of middle school, high school. I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me at all.
Agreed that it is much more specific to a particular degree or whatever. I agree with that.
But how do you expect to do that at a high school level?
It's not as...
what kind of varying levels of schools do you think that this is going to bring about?
I don't know.
I would think that you're thinking that there's going to be like 20 different kind of styles out there, that I think we're going to have this buffet style education system. All these holes are just going to be filled up. I think we'll have our woodworking school.
I think this goes back to the previous conversation we were having about the Tariffis and stuff. This is the cultural. This is the cultural norm is what we're used to. Is that we have this singular system that we dump our kids in, and they come out the other side ready to go to college or whatever the society is become normalized for what a high school graduate is. I think I think it would be a long shift, but I think as the shift would go, that as parents, when your kids are getting to school age, you start thinking about what kind of education you had and what kind of education friends of yours had, and which schools or which programs of schools have the closest system that you think makes sense to what you want your kids to be doing. And again, yes, it's more generalized than this school is good for marine biologies, but this school is good for getting kids to colleges of X number of standards, and I want my kid to go to a school that has X number of standards. I want my kid to graduate high school and choose whatever the fuck they want and be ready to go there because that's what the school prepared them for. Or I want my kid to be, just a good general all-around, have some good knowledge and basic stuff, and be able to choose where they move their life from there, and maybe not be good enough to get into a Harvard or a Yale, but at least get into a state school. This school does that school does this. I think it's the same animal.
What school is going to even be able to like kind of half-ass answer of what they do? Of like, well, we don't produce Harvard level, but we'll guarantee they at least get into state level.
It's a significant cultural shift that's at play, and it would have to be one of those where, like the long-term answer would be like, this is what we do. Here is a list of our students and what happened to them after they got out of our school.
I think the general probably was more in agreement on things, but like I said, even just a general idea of what should be taught in schools. Sure. Even then, have some consensus to be able to start establishing some kind of schools focusing on certain levels or certain areas. Sorry.
I think we have the one. We have the one of we have a set of schools that wants to teach that God is the end all be all, and then we have other.
Well, even then, that's not their main focus. It's an aspect to it.
It's like a Christian moral base, whatever you want to call it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I didn't mean.
You think even Catholic high school. I'm sure they have the religious studies classes, but outside of that, I don't think they're focused so much on the ecumenical side of algebraic equations and physical education. They may throw in a prayer before a run, but
that's a good question. I don't know.
So I'm saying I don't think even a religious school, I'd say for
Well, it's fine.
at least
but even
2/3
in
of
that,
the
it's like
curriculum.
I want the underlying theme to be X, not Christianity. I want the underlying theme to be science, like evolutionary science. Like the underlying theme is that at the end of the day, everything comes back to scientific method. Period. Full stop. Christian school is not going to do that.
They do to an extent. I mean, a lot of Christians accept scientific method, just not certain aspects of it. I think, from my understanding.
No, I would say it depends on the specifics of said Christian schools.
True.
But to have the choice between those different things as a parent, I think it makes sense long term.
But again, I guess I'm reluctant to think that parents are going to go that far in preparation for picking
I think
out
long
a school.
term. I think long term it'll be like I'm going to send my kids to a school similar to what I went to because I got to where I am, or I'm going to send my kids to a school that isn't anything like the school I went to because I think my school failed me miserably.
Right.
And I had to do it all on my own because the school failed. So I'm going to send them to something different than what I had. But again, the choice is like having a choice would be awesome. If there was systems in place and like again, it's like to me that like to me I guess the real argument is like this is a huge systematic conversation that's going to take decades of change before you actually get to see a result because we're so used to X. We're just so used to X. This is how it is and how it's been for our lifetimes and our parents' lifetimes and but it fell into the system.
It's the educational system for most of the world.
Okay. I don't know. I have no idea how other countries do their education systems.
I'm just trying to play into like, well, we're just kind of used to it because that's the way it's always been. I think it's more so that it's been a more scientifically tried and true method that I think that's why it's a semi-standard.
I think I think it's I don't know. I think if anything it's just one of those like we all generally agree on the idea of educating the next generation is important. And so this is the system that's in place to do that.
Maybe.
Not necessarily that it's scientifically correct, it's just that it's like it's expensive. It's hard to do. And logically the only entity that really has the finances and functions to do it is the state. For the majority of the public. I mean, that's my guess at it, too. I don't know. All right, let's get weird and get out of here.
Ooh, thought I had it pulled up.
Oh, epic fail.
Ooh, you seen this about torpedo bats?
I have seen a little bit on the torpedo bats.
Apparently the company that makes it has been very overwhelmed by orders for them. It's a Pennsylvania company that has sent a Pennsylvania factory into overdrive.
I've seen some scores in some baseball games that I didn't understand.
I heard like one game that was like mentioned. It was like the Yankees or somebody.
Yeah, I think
It was like
I think
they had
beat
like
the shit
8
out of
home runs in a game.
They think they beat the shit out of my Brewers like 20-7 or 6 or something like that.
Damn.
I mean, I've heard some different takes on it. It's like I have no particular hate for it if it's within the rules or whatever. Cool,
Right.
but like, there's no way you can argue that it's not changing the game.
Yeah, picture it makes it look like you're just kind of like at a much fatter like sweet spot almost.
Yeah, but it
Also, that's like you kind of knock it sideways a lot easier as well with it being that kind of bulbous shape.
yeah, I don't know. Like if it works, great.
Yeah, obviously it's working for some of people.
Right. But it's just like the thing to me is like it's just like you cannot make the argument that it's not different and it's not doing things differently. Because it's not often that you have a 20-run game, period, in baseball.
Yeah.
Ever. And we've had a couple this year already. Now, again, if it's within the rules, so be it. And anybody who can make them should be making them, and anybody who wants to buy them and play with them should be playing with them. And for a sport that has a lot of struggle with a lot of stuff, and scoring is exciting, probably not a bad thing.
Just got to figure a way to speed the game up. Like, I think games still average like 3 hours.
Yeah, they got the pitch clock on too, and it's still.
Right, I think it helps somewhat.
I mean, baseball to me has always been an in-person sport. Like, it's a great spectator sport when you're there. It's fun to go to baseball games.
See, I'd almost rather watch it on TV just to get a better view. I mean, I've been, and it's fun being in the atmosphere of the stadium, but at the same time, I can't see shit.
Right,
I've had a couple decent lines, even just like right along third base, maybe 8 or 9 rows back. But even then, you got a great view of third base, and not too bad of a view of like the pitcher, but the rest of the field, most plays are happening at first base.
Yeah, as far away from you as it can possibly be.
Right. I mean, I guess it's better than being in the outfield, but
I don't know. I've never gone to a game and been sad. There's something about,
I can't say that either.
There's something about being there that it's just right.
I guess I like to have a better view, and it's nice having all those different camera angles.
But like, I don't know. I think watching it on TV is what makes it feel so fucking slow. There's something about like the hum while you're there and you're in it, that when you're sitting at home watching it, it's just that hum becomes kind of like white noise that helps you fall asleep.
I mean, I think when they take commercial breaks, it's an on-field kind of break as well, to an extent.
I don't know. I haven't been to a game I went to a Smokies game like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I will probably make the effort to go to a Smokies game in this new stadium. Be curious how the attendance goes in the first couple of weeks. I mean, we're 10 days, 11 days out. Home opener.
Is it?
Downtown friends, if you live downtown and you listen to us, don't plan on not having to deal with fireworks for the next couple weeks. They're doing fireworks after every home game for the first 2 weeks, 2 home stretches, I think. One more, let's do it.
This one's about kind of the origins of April Fool's Day. I was reading some funny ones. Apparently, there was
That was not my favorite. I had to go to my city council meeting on April Fool's Day.
Did you? Like, is this a joke? 'Cause I think I saw that Tiger Woods put out some kind of like tweet. It was like, "Hey, it's a miracle. I think he tore like his ACL or something recently." And he's like, miracle recovery, and I'm going to be at the Masters. And apparently, he waited like 5 or 10 minutes. Like, that was a joke. Obviously, my knee is fucked up right now. Apparently, he just got engaged to Trump's daughter-in-law, or former daughter-in-law, I think it is. Maybe.
Yeah. No idea.
I want to say it's maybe Eric's ex-wife or something, former ex-wife. I can't remember exactly the connection. Somehow he's got a connection to Trump's daughter-in-law or niece.
Sure, he's played a round or two with Trump in his day.
I think that's where they met. Oh no, not I was reading a story about where he and Gretzky met. A lot of people assume, because I guess they both played golf, and it goes back like to the 90s maybe. He's getting some shit in Canada right now. He's like, "Who the fuck are you? You an American or you Canadian, eh?"
Yeah. America's what made him rich.
I think he's a dual citizen. I think he lives most of his time in the States.
I mean, he's not on a short list, but he won cups with 2 different teams.
So there's a couple of funny of these that I saw. It was like let's see, I think back to like Big Ben. They put out like the New London Times or whatever put out an article on April Fools that that Big Ben was going to change over to digital and it was not going to be called Digital Dave. I was like, that's pretty good.
It's a good joke. Yeah, I like it. Dave is not a very English name, though.
Yeah, Digital Dave, yeah.
You know,
in 1980, they tried to do that.
Is there a prime minister? Have there ever been a prime minister, Dave?
David Cameron.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they ever called him Dave, though.
Dave Cameron, English or was he Canadian?
British prime minister.
Yeah. All right, fine.
Let's see here.
Dave's
in
English.
92, there's an NPR program, let's see here, that announced that former President Richard Nixon would be running for president.
Oh, we didn't
According
talk about
to the Museum of Hoaxes, comedian had had impersonated Nixon to say, "I never did anything wrong, and I won't do it again."
I don't. We didn't touch on the Trump third term conversation. I don't want to touch on it either.
Another just kind of like mixed messaging coming out. I think it was the Republican congressmen or senators that were asked about it, like, oh, he's just kind of making some jokes. And apparently, I guess he saw that and was like, no, I'm serious. Yeah. Or no, I think he's like, well, people have asked me about it.
We'll figure out. If we want to do it, we'll figure out. There's ways to do it. We can figure out ways to do it. I don't know. I
think it takes 2/3 of Congress.
Right, and
the 15 states or whatever.
Right, yeah. I'm curious if I'd be curious to see the amendment process in play. I'd be curious to watch an actual constitutional amendment in play. The one that's in play that our guy Rose put up is very clearly, legally, functionally, it's not 3 terms. It's 3 terms if they're non-consecutive terms. You can do, basically, it's written in a way that Obama or Clinton or Bush couldn't run again.
I think Ogles put that up.
Yeah, Ogles, right. I'm sorry. But it's very clearly written in a way where Obama wouldn't qualify.
See, I thought I saw a story recently that even Trump commented on that that's something he would look forward to, would be running against Obama.
That'd be fun.
I think I did hear that it made a carve out for consecutive presidencies wouldn't be eligible for a third term, but if you had a term in between, you could go for a third because you didn't technically serve 2 consecutive terms.
Right, but the
wording of the constitutional amendment says explicitly no.
Right. You can't and even in one of the workarounds that's been thrown out there, it's like, well, he'll run J.D. Vance as president, he'll run for VP with him.
Yeah, I heard that mentioned or something.
And
he could just step aside,
and then Vance would quit on day one. Nope, not an option.
Yeah,
it is very clear in the 22nd Amendment. It's
that you cannot serve as president.
Right.
There's something in there because Johnson, came in the middle or whatever after Kennedy was assassinated.
No, he wasn't eligible for a third term either.
Right. I think I think there's it's more than half or something like that. I can't remember
2
the
years.
wording.
Yeah, just
2 years of presidency. But like you said, it's serve as president.
Right.
It's not just elected as president. It's if you actually served as president for 2 terms.
And means you cannot serve as president after.
Right.
Like that, and it was very clear in that you cannot serve as president after, meaning, okay, well, you run as VP, and for whatever reason, the person who was elected president quits or dies or whatever, you cannot serve as president a third term or during a third term.
Yeah,
for one day, regardless of how long. Even if J.D. Vance runs and wins with Trump as his VP, and he gets to 3 years, 362 days, Trump could not serve out the last 3 days of that term.
Right.
With the way the 22nd Amendment is written. God help me. That's a line I might lose my shit on. I don't know what I'll do. I don't really have an option to do anything, and that's part of the problem. I don't know what I could do.
I think I've heard it at least said that he hasn't been saying it, that he's more kind of responding oh, people have talked to me about it. I don't know.
I can't imagine.
People have asked me about. There's people that want me to do it.
But I mean, if the
that's what the American people want.
One of the things to me, though, on the bottom line of it, at the base of it, I think the 22nd Amendment is bullshit. I think it's dumb. The idea, this is my same argument with one of the popular things to argue about is we should have term limits for Congress. Which again, I hate that Nancy Pelosi's been there for 30 years or whatever. I hate that Chuck Schumer's been a senator for as long as he's been. I hate those things. But they're getting elected by the people in their district. They should be able to keep getting elected. So should a president. Why do we term limit? It doesn't make any sense. It's the will of the people who are electing them to be there. Then you shouldn't have to quit just because you already did it once or twice or whatever. It doesn't make any sense.
In theory, I like the idea.
I like the I mean, if we had a decent democracy and people were engaged and bothered to vote and stuff like that, I would be less inclined to like the idea of term limits.
I like the idea of term limits.
All right, I'm saying I like the idea of term limits because we're lazy as citizens. If we weren't lazy as citizens, I don't like the idea of term limits. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Like if we were engaged and paying attention, if Trump is the right guy and we want to do 3, 4, 5 terms of Trump, let's do it. But that's because we're engaged and paying attention. And when people are running, we're like, okay, we're evaluating the difference between these two people. It's not just this party, that party. It's not sub in A, B, whatever bullshit. It's like this is the right guy for the job. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like why? Like any company, and I know it's not really fair to compare, base business stuff to government, but any company has a CEO that's kicking ass and taking names, but he's been there for 8 years. You're going to fire him just because that's what we've always done? That doesn't make any sense. They're doing good. They're making us money. They're doing the thing that we asked them to do.
I mean, to equate it, the company had that policy. I'm assuming they would have essentially the same rules, as they would just have to internally change that policy.
Right. But I'm just saying,
we have the ability to do that in Congress.
Right. Well, no, it has to be constitutional amendment, which is more than Congress.
Started in Congress and spread out to the states, etc.
Right, but the idea that because what was it, FDR, right? He was the kickoff to why we got have his 22nd Amendment.
Yeah, I think he's kind of served essentially portions of 4.
He was on his 3rd when he was on his 3rd when he got sick.
I can't remember exactly. I thought I saw that he had essentially served 4, but maybe it was just 3.5 or.
He was on, maybe he just got elected to his 4th when the polio really got bad.
Maybe.
Anyway, whatever it is, it's like they couldn't. You can't put like if it's a party game, you can't put somebody up to beat him at this point. Like if he's doing that well for 16 years, why not get to 20? Who cares?
Well, he was kind of viewed as bringing people out of the Great Depression. A lot of people had high views of the New Deal at the time, of it spurring a lot of growth. And then he was a wartime president, so that kind of boosts your favorability. But if it works, much of the US.
But if it's working, it's working. Why would you put a stop to it working just because he's done to? It doesn't make any sense. Like realistically. Like for president especially, it actually makes more sense to me that we would term limit Congress before we would term limit president. Because there is you can't gerrymander a presidential election. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't. Like there's no gerrymandering on a presidential election. Like a little bit as far as the
flyover states, etc.
Well, like the right, like the battleground states kind of thing like that. Like you could, sort of gerrymander, but for the most part, those states don't change.
Right.
And so you have like the Tennessees and the Californias and the Texases that are already what they are. They don't count. So the flyover doesn't really change. But that's not like that's not something that after a census we're adjusting. You're not changing the lines of Tennessee because too much of Tennessee voted for a Democrat. You know what I'm saying? We're not carving out parts of Tennessee and shoving them into Missouri to split up the Democratic voting base that's in Tennessee.
No, there's ways to do it within the state.
Right, but within the state, but that doesn't change a presidential election. That could change a senatorial or a representative's election.
I don't think there's that many states that do it, but if you had a state that divided it up proportionally, but I think Nebraska was one of the really kind of weird ones. I think almost all of them are winner-take-alls.
Right, but for the other than a few exceptions, you can't gerrymander a presidential election. That's the point I'm saying. And so if gerrymandering is not part of presidential elections, then it makes less sense that a presidential is term limited than a House or Senate seat. Anyway. All right. Last call, Fred. You got anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Ooh, buddy. That got really fun there at the end. I like that. I'll have to put more thought into it. I don't know. Term limits are done. Anyway, almostagreement@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, almostagreement.com. Hallelujah 25 is upon us, May 17th. Come out, have a good time. It's going to be great. Hallelujah.co. Go there to sign up and do whatever you want to do. We are Almost Agreement. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Like, friend, follow, share, text us to your friends. Do whatever you do to spread the word. We're going to keep doing what we do. I will start looking into some of these city races very soon and start getting some candidates on the phone or in the flesh, and we'll talk and make some understanding of what they want out of our city government. Then, I don't know, whatever's after that. Almost Agreement, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you soon.